Welcome, Catherine. Disability Resources and Services, DRS, is the department responsible for ensuring the accommodation and that is available for all students with disabilities at a South Mountain Community College campus. And SMCC, as we both know, envisions a learning community that values people with diverse abilities and has a deep commitment to be inclusive of all its members. We welcome Catherine Pettet, Director of Disability Resources and Services, to this conversation. Thank you. Thank you. And this is hosted by the Center for Teaching and Learning at SMCC. And thank you for being here. So my first question to you is, in your current role, how do you contribute to student success? Elaborate on how your job duties and expertise enhances opportunities for students to succeed.
So just to clarify that, the role of the ADA is to ensure equal access for individuals. So we are here to create an equitable learning environment and learning experiences for students, both with and without disabilities. So a lot of what we do and our focus has always been on access. Guy Goodman used to say to me, access without success is without opportunity. And I always took what he said to be very serious and really the heart of what we do. So a lot of things that we do is to think in terms of what our students need in order to be successful, which may or may not be very different than other students. So for example, in 2019, we actually created a peer support program that was run in collaboration with EDU 221. I originally began it that long ago. And we connected with faculty, and we also connected with the tutoring center to really talk about what their role was, and then how we could be more supportive of students. So students with disabilities can actually contact the DRS office if they need assistance with navigating Canvas, with understanding their assignments, with submitting assignments, with having their papers edited. And that's one way where we have really grown into our role, not just about access, but also success. We also pride ourselves in making sure that we are the concierge of DRS, right? So we are the concierge of student development or student enrollment, because when a student doesn't know where to go or what to do, and they have disability, they will often come to our office and say, how do I fill in the blank? How do I enroll? How do I get in contact with tutoring services? So we've done that. We've also done or have worked to create a wellness check program. So every 3 weeks, we do wellness checks on our students, where we will send an email out, and the emails are basically, hey, how are you doing? What resources can we provide? We then call the students. So students don't always respond to their student emails. So we call them and we say, hey, how are you doing? These wellness checks have led to a 90 to 100% completion rate for students with disabilities in a single semester. We also will contact them, and we're retaining our students. So they're completing in a single semester, they're retaining and moving on to the next semester, and then they're persisting at a rate of 60 to 70%. And I don't know if you know this, but the institution as a whole has a 51% retention and persistent rate. So we're actually higher than the general population of individuals who are moving on into their educational journey just beyond their first semester here with us. And we believe that comes through good customer service, through those extensive resources we've been providing. And then I've also challenged us to find resources such as Kurzweil software, where we have introduced that to all students. But here in Disability Services, we can assist with providing the student training. We also collaborate with the CTL to provide training for students and faculty for that resource. And then something we've done recently in 2023, I'm currently collaborating with Mary Nunn in the CTL to create a faculty resource guide and support for faculty when they are serving the needs of students. When they have a student with disability in the classroom, there's an accommodation, they don't know how to implement it, they can go right into this Canvas course and kind of look up what that accommodation might be, and then they can work collaboratively with the student in order to implement that in their classroom. And then our other project, we are working on an online student orientation, which is again unique to our campus. We provide orientations for our students that empower them to work collaboratively with their faculty to engage and implement their services, but also to communicate effectively if they have needs. So I would say that those 5 different programs that I've brought on have led to the high numbers of success that we've experienced, and how we serve students is not just thinking about them as individuals with disabilities, but really just thinking about them as individuals with abilities who may need other resources in order to experience success.
Thank you for sharing this, Catherine. A simple "Hey, how are you doing?" goes a long way. It helps build a personal connection with the students. And when the students feels that their institution cares about them, they're more likely to be engaged. My second question to you is, in your current role, how do you contribute to institutional success? Elaborate on how your job duties and expertise enhance positive, collaborative, cross-disciplinary institutional success.
Well, some of what I said does
Yes.
apply to institution, right? So we can look at retention rates, completion rates. We work on enrollment. So often what we do is we're making enrollment calls, making sure that our students are connected to those resources, whether it's A&R, financial aid. That's a collaboration that we have every day to make sure that the students know those steps. But it's also working with the tutoring center, working with the CTL. I've been doing disability services a really long time. In fact, I'm the longest sitting member of the Disability Managers Council at 15 plus years. And what I often offer is just the history of MARICOPA in our service for students, and just helping faculty understand not just what is required of the ADA, but also what is required or what they can do to help our students. So as an institution, we're all trying to serve and create that universally designed classroom experience where any student can be successful, because we've created it such a way that we take a holistic approach to disability services. But I would challenge the faculty that I want them to put me out of a job. If faculty created, universally accessible spaces, then there would be no need for my level of expertise to go in and say, hey, how can we create an accessible space? And I think that's really the message I'd love faculty to know, is that if they think outside the box and they create spaces and they can do the things that they need to help students, then basically, maybe I can move on and do some of the things that I aspire for my role within MARICOPA, which is, about breaking down barriers, not just for individuals with disabilities, but others as well. But from an institutional standpoint, I have relationships with the president of the college, all of the vice presidents. My role, basically transitions from not just student affairs, but into academic affairs, into OE&T, creating accessible spaces. We're not just responsible for the materials, the course materials, but also the classrooms, making sure that doors are, the pounds per square inch on a door are correct, that there's no barriers to the walkway, that a student with low vision can move freely throughout the campus without impact, or a person with who requires wheelchair access has that access by utilizing, we're a single floor institution, right? For the most part, the only second floor is on that NCC building, which was newly constructed now, and the TC building. So for the most part, if I was in a wheelchair, every aspect of South Mountain is accessible using a wheelchair to access those spaces. So kudos to the builders of South Mountain for thinking of that. But yeah, I see my role as, someone who can collaborate and coordinate with everyone on campus, and we have to in order to serve, you don't serve alone, you serve with. And so you serve others by working interdependently in order to make sure that, or I should say intradependently, to make sure that the students have what they need to be successful.
Listening to you, my take home for faculty is to think out of the box, right? And as you said, taking the holistic and creative approach, adapting to different learning styles and finding solutions to challenges. Another thing you said that sticks with me is to serve with. Once we are in together, we can move the mountain. My next question to you is, what action do you take to build trust, confidence in students, colleagues, and community relationships at SMCC?
Nationally, as I attend conferences, they talk about a holistic approach to serving students with disabilities, which doesn't mean just disability services. I don't have the resources or the knowledge to do everything that we need to do to serve. So I rely heavily on others. I also don't see my role as carrying an ADA stick. You know, I say that often to faculty. I'm not here to beat somebody over the head into compliance. Compliance is something we desire to aspire to, in order to make, break down those barriers and build that community. You know, when community members come on, we have a community library. It's important for the library services to work collaboratively with my office to make sure the resources in their space is as accessible as it is on our campus. I think that's a critical point. I'm a guardian by nature. So if you know anything about guardians, we're going to be all about the rules and the policies and the procedures, but we also recognize we're working with human beings who have to implement whatever it is that we're asking of. My team has to be able to answer questions. Faculty have to be confident and comfortable working with a student so that they can say yes and they can say no. I mean, sometimes students nowadays ask questions or ask something of faculty where they should be saying no. I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
Right? And a perfect example. We have a student who gets extended time on assignments, 1 to 2 days, right? That is reasonable within the functional limitations of her disability. And then she asks for a week, and then she asks for a month, and the faculty needs to say no. Like, we're addressing a limitation, not life choices, right? So because the student works and has a family and has all these personal challenges, their car broke down, they can't access the computer. That is not about disability. That is about personal, that is about behavior,
work ethic,
life choice, work ethic, right? But even beyond that, it's about personal, we call it life issues versus disability issues or access issues. And so I encourage faculty, if they ever have a question regarding anything, they can reach out to me directly, and I'm happy to answer any questions. I always tell them chat is the best way. I'm on my phone. Who isn't on their phone all the time? Chat is really good because it's a big red dot. When I open up my email, it tells me someone needs my help right now. When we talk about collaboration, one thing I'm very good about doing is collaborating from a district perspective, right? When we talk about community, it's not just here in South Mountain, but because of my experience, I serve everyone. I serve Phoenix College students. I serve Gateway students. Whoever it is that needs help will reach out to me and say, I have a question about this student, and I'll go in and review documents and say, hey, listen, I hear you and I hear what you're saying, but you're missing this point, or you've provided for this, but the student really didn't say it. I don't consider my intakes. I consider them interviews. What is life like for you? That's what I'm like for a student. And I ask the same question of faculty. What is it like to have a student with low vision in your class who you now have to review your course materials? Well, I also challenge them to say, if you create the course thinking of the low vision student or the student that's deaf, you will never not hit the mark. And so that collaboration is about empowering them and helping them, both students, staff, and faculty, to not fear working with students with disabilities, but to see them as a person with a disability that may need their help and support a little more than another student might need.
Yeah. And I have had very positive experience with you because I have had these conversations with you in regards to the challenges and then solving those challenges. And you were always very, very informative and helpful and a guardian.
Very much.
So, yes. And that's why I was so excited to interview you. Why is it important to you to contribute to this staff feature project? Why do you think it is important? And what do you offer that is unique to this institution?
Well, and Ralph would tell you it's my 24 years of working in the hospitality and recognizing customer service. It's not just about students, but it's about staff and faculty. Why would I want to contribute? Because every time that I help a faculty member, I serve more students. I don't have to be in the room to be serving students, right? So if I meet with you about a low vision student who's in your class and we collaboratively come up with this phenomenal way to access your course materials, then the next time you face a low vision student, you're going to know to go to the student and work collaboratively with the student to find that same solution. And I think that's why it's important, because I want faculty to see the student. I want them to recognize and understand that, that is an individual. Because I have disabilities, they're all hidden. I think the way we approach learning, the way we see our students. There are some faculty who believe that we're here to get students ready to go on to ASU. And there are some faculty who believe on the opposite end of the spectrum that students come in at different points of understanding and learning. So if we have two ends of a spectrum, I have to bounce somewhere in here to try to speak a language that all faculty can understand, so that wherever we are, the end goal is about student success and our students graduating. And sometimes it may mean just really talking to the student and about understanding how they need to learn this information, right? Knowing and understanding that I have chronic fatigue, and on any day I could wake up completely fatigued and down for the count, right? So it's not that I'm a bad employee. It's not that I was a bad student. It's just that I would wake up and my brain would be in a fog and it would be difficult. So I want our faculty to be able to do what I do when I'm not in the room. And I want them to ask the questions of the student and to trust that the student wants to be successful. They just need some more guidance. I'm going to give you a thing that Ralph Thompson and I always talk about. If you were, and I challenge this to every faculty member, if you were a shepherd and had to get 100 sheep from point A to point B, and one sheep went missing, what would you do?
I would search for that sheep. I would make sure that I find the sheep and bring him into the classroom.
Correct. And so in every institution, there are people who are the 99 sheepers. They want to get the 99 sheep to the finish line and then perhaps go back and look for the lost sheep. People like you who are the one sheepers, who see the individual person and they want to save the sheep. They want to save the one sheep. And I would challenge faculty to understand that both are needed in the institution. And the voices that we bring to the table are those that need to be heard. And sometimes the hardest battle within ourselves are the ones that share a different perspective, but bring value to the discussion. And I think that that's so critical in helping our students be successful and collaborating amongst ourselves and appreciating the messages that everyone is bringing to the table, whether we want to shout at the highest, stand on a mountain and shout against them, or whether we come to an understanding that everybody is here to serve. And if we serve together, then we get students, to the graduation or the finish line. I would challenge, most people don't realize this also, 74 students in the last 3 years have graduated from South Mountain Community College. I'm very proud of that fact. It took a lot to get many of them through, but if we all work together, I didn't do it alone. Our office is only one of many campus institution or campus departments and divisions that serve. And so I would say my whole role is to be a good customer service provider and to be a customer when I walk around campus and ask for help and support from everyone.
Yeah, we are very privileged to have you in our institution. And not only you have expertise and knowledge, but you also have a strong sense of empathy. The question that you asked me at this point in time shows you have a understanding of empathy in the deepest sense, as well as a commitment to being inclusive. And it is that we stand for. That's what we stand for in a community college, where we can include everyone. And as you said, that they graduate.
We currently serve about, I think my numbers were between 180 to 280 students per year. Some of that's duplicated, so it's not per semester, it's per year. So we are seeing an increase in our numbers. Our BHS program should bring 1 in 4 individuals that apply for a BHS program have some type of disability. Our highest number served is learning disabilities in a combination of mood disorders. So we see students with multiple disabilities, such as someone with ADHD and someone with anxiety disorder. We see that a lot on our campus. And I think not only are those students struggling to be students, but they're struggling to be students with disabilities.
Yeah. And also sometimes surviving it. And then there are work issues too. You've got to keep up with the task. Right. That could be very difficult sometimes. Thank you, Catherine Pettet, for joining our conversation. We learned a lot from you, and hopefully you can guide us in order to be better faculty members. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Always happy to guide and support.
Yeah.
The ending of every email I ever write is here to guide and support.
See, that's what, you're the guardian. Thank you.